Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm kind of piggybacking somebody else's content right now on this particular video. Just got to watching Trevor Lane on the Basketball Bulletin, and he was intentionally breaking down some of the stuff that's going on with the restricted free agents out there. I didn't get through the entire video because I was inspired to speak off of some of the information provided. The last thing I was listening to is the first thing I want to talk about. Cam Thomas of the Brooklyn Nets, a restricted free agent, essentially is what was just reported was that he sees himself as on par with Tyler Hero, Manuel Quickley, and R.J. Barrett, that level of player, and wants the contract similar to theirs, and their contracts are like in the $30 million range a year. The problem is, and I agree with Trevor Lane, his point of view was, those are all arguably bad contracts. So if you're going to look at yourself and your argument is that you should be given a bad contract, I don't think you're going to get far if that's your argument. And the problem also, productivity versus those three guys. The one thing I can say about those three scorers is that they're going to give you big assists on good nights. R.J. Barrett has turned himself into a hell of a facilitator. Tyler Hero has point guard skills, facilitates the basketball, makes other people better, along with his scoring. Same thing with Emmanuel Quickley. He has some point guard skills. You can expect big assists from him. Cam Thomas, he doesn't assist the ball. He's a 35-point-per-game scorer who's going to play about 40 games a year and be out for the rest of the damn season with injuries. How much of that had to do with him being on a bad team? We always want to leave room for that. He was on the Nets. Who knows how that goes? But at the end of the day, you got to know why people value players a certain way. You can be a great scorer, but if you're not accounting for making others better or being a connective piece, and all you do is score the ball, you're not on par with those particular players. You're not. You're going to have to up your assist total specifically to assure that they are going to value you that way. There's a points per game ain't enough, and you're not attached to enough winning with the Brooklyn Nets for them to be giving you a contract that's likely supposed to be going to a player who's probably going to be your second or third best player. If you're only a scorer, you don't defend, you don't necessarily get assists off, you're not particularly a great rebounder or anything like that, all you do is score, I can't build my team with you making that much money. It's not, I have to give my cap to other stuff. It can't just be to the microwave score. So that's the problem that Cam Thomas is going to run into. That's the long and short of it from my opinion. I just don't think that he's productive enough nor expected to be healthy enough to be demanding that somebody give him what is already considered a bad contract in those three cases. Nobody wants to even give them that. So definitely not giving somebody who's not as productive that's not happening. And it's unfortunate, I guess. I mean, you want to get your bag. You know, you're not interested in what's fair. You just see what's out there and you weigh it yourself against it, and you posture, you stick your chest out, and you hope somebody buys it. That's really all you can do when you're in that situation. And I don't think I'd do anything different, but I would have the understanding that that's not going to be something that comes my way. That's kind of how I would approach it if I were Cam. You know, in a perfect world, if you're building properly, if you're a team builder, if you're a GM and you're owner, you want Cam on like a $15 million contract, bro. I'm just being honest. Because what he brings to the table, if you have him on a really, really good contract, you can really build a champion. And that's what it should be about for the team builders. Now, for the players, they want generational wealth. And everybody's coming to the NBA looking to get the most they can get and maybe a little more if possible. You see bad contracts given out to players that you may perceive you're better than or what have you, and you want your contract, and you don't care if people see it as bad or not. But the point is the realistic expectations you should have tend to go out the window when you're approaching things that way, or at least it appears that that's what it is from the outside looking in. It looks like you're delusional about who you are and what ultimately is required for the guys who are building teams to put together something that's worth building. And, you know, Cam Thomas is not able to showcase that he's more than what I described over the course of his career. Now, he's a super talented scorer, but that's not enough, man. That's not enough. You got to be able to provide other attributes to the game in order to demand that type of money. Or you have to have shown that you've been doing a lot of winning. And neither have been the case, unfortunately, for him. So, good luck to him in this situation. I wish everybody to get the most money they can get. But I also look at it from a GM's perspective and get irritated just the same when I see certain guys who are not as productive being put in situations, eating up too much of the cap, not making it so that the rest of the team can win. I understand that not everybody's building a winner. Some teams are just building teams just to get through the next 4 years or whatever, hoping that they can land a lottery pick. And that's exactly where that contract would ultimately land, in my opinion. It wouldn't be with a champion. It wouldn't be with a contender. It would be with a bad team. So if money is the motive, you can, like I said, do the best you can to present yourself to be greater than you are, and hope somebody's going to do that. So hope somebody buys that. But if I'm serious about building a team, I want him on about $15 million a year. If I'm serious about building something that I think can win a championship. And if he's in that spot, I think I'm confident I can build something that can win a championship. And there's really the approach that I come from as a fan. So that's my point of view. If my team is not building something that can win a championship, I'm irritated. That's my point of view as a fan. So I'm always looking at the logic to say, if this don't make sense for building something that can win a championship, I don't think it should be done. That's just gonna be my logic at all times. So that's what I want to say about the Cam Thomas situation. The next thing that was discussed was the Jonathan Kuminga situation. It's been said that the Kings are the team that he's been in communication with. They got something that they want to do, but he's a restricted free agent, and they need the Warriors to facilitate him toward the Kings. Now, the Kings, from what I understand, are now open to adding a first-round pick protected of some sort, top 15 protected, 2031, I think is what was said. Best, it would be the worst of two teams, either the Kings or someone else, pick that the Warriors would be receiving. I'm not sure how the swap looks when it pans out. That has not been agreed upon, along with Malik Monk's contract. And from what I understand, according to Trevor Lane, the Malik Monk contract is the holdup. The Warriors don't want to take on Malik Monk having money on books through 2027 because they're trying to line themselves up to be free agent players in 2027, and all their other contracts line up that way. Lakers got a situation like that as well. We trying to line up, I think, all the contracts and making sense. I think Malik Monk is a player that I would take a chance on if I'm the Warriors. He fits their situation a lot better than some of the other players that they have. When you talk about scores that can get assists off, Malik Monk is now proven he's one of them dudes as well. So I think he fits in with the Warriors significantly better, really, than a lot of players, to be honest with you, with his three-point shooting ability. The Warriors already have a lot of shooting guards, so I definitely understand why they don't have as much interest in Malik Monk. You got Buddy Hield, you got Podziemski, you got Moses Moody, several other guys I think as well at that position. Obviously, Steph Curry can play multiple positions. They got guys that can play the shooting guard already. They don't necessarily need Malik Monk. But I would tell you this. If I'm bringing Malik Monk to myself and I'm the Warriors, I don't have any problem moving on for some of them other guards. I'd rather have Malik Monk over Buddy Hield for certain. Podziemski and Monk is a little iffy because Podziemski really does bring some intangibles to the game along with his scoring. He's a pretty solid defender. He's an excellent rebounder. He's getting better, so I don't know. I think in a nutshell today, I would rather have Malik Monk. Long term, I'm not really sure, especially if I'm not pleased with Malik's contract. Moses Moody, I'm a fan of Moses Moody. I think he's an excellent defender. Not as pure of a scorer as those guys, but if I'm gonna pick one between Monk or Moody, I think Monk is probably more proven, but Moody's gonna help me on both sides of the floor. He's a bigger body. I'd probably be wiser to hold on to the defender. Malik is not a defender, but Malik is the most talented of the shooters of all of those guys. Buddy Hield, you guys know I'm not a fan of Buddy Hield. I don't think he's that great of a player, to be honest with you. So if I have to choose between him and Malik Monk, I'm gonna choose Malik Monk every time, no matter what the situation. So that, for me, it's like I'm probably just gonna move Buddy Hield and bring in Malik Monk and be happy with that. But if Buddy's on a contract that aligns with what they got going on, I certainly see the fruit keeping your contracts aligned and all that. So that's really what it is, man. I would not have any problem with Malik Monk being on contract through 2027 in most situations. I don't know what the Warriors books look like. For all I know, that's the one situation I wouldn't be cool with it. So I cry ignorant. I'm not really sure how they got it going on. But for me, he would be a significant upgrade from Buddy Hield for certain. Significant upgrade. And anybody that's ever had Malik Monk on their team, with the exception of the Charlotte Hornets, where he was developed and they didn't really get to use him, anybody that's had Malik on their team, we love him. We love him to death. Like, he's not anybody you want off of your team, ever. Sacramento would love to keep him. I'm certain all their fans, they love him. Laker fans, we never wanted him to go. I don't think we've had a better shooting guard since, with respect to of course, Austin Reeves, who I think is a better player than Malik Monk. But I'm talking about, like, in that role, guys like Gabe Vincent and stuff like that, Max Christie, those guys ain't as good as Malik Monk. Malik Monk should have never been moved on from, but we understood we were just bringing in a rental. But he proved himself so well that I think if we could do it all over again, I think a lot of people in Lakerland probably would move other pieces to assure Malik was here. That's how good Malik is. He's uber talented. He's probably going to make an all-star team before it's over with. I think his best ball is ahead of him. And I think that the Golden State Warriors, if they had him, they wouldn't want him to leave. That's what I would tell the Golden State Warriors fan base and all of. As a Laker fan who had him for a year, if you get him there, you're going to want him to retire there. I can tell you that right now. He is way, way, way better than what he's being played for as a guy who's just going to have money on the books for a year that you want to be a free agent. You're going to want him on the team that year. That's what I'm here. As a Laker fan who had Malik Monk for a year, I'm telling all Warriors fans, you want him on your team in 2027. You happy he's on contract. That's who Malik Monk actually is. And for your situation, like I said, I'd move other shooting guards. I'd move Buddy fast, quick, fast, in a hurry to assure that Malik Monk's time is there for him. Also, Detroit, I think, had some interest in Malik Monk. That fell through. I saw Detroit Twitter at the time. They were super excited about Malik Monk coming to Detroit, and they should have been. I'm telling you, there's not a team in this league that shouldn't want Malik Monk on their roster. Not a team in this league. And anybody that's watched him play basketball on the offensive end knows what I'm talking about. Not a team in this league should not want Malik Monk. And if the Lakers can bring him back, I encourage the Lakers to do that. If for some reason Golden State just don't want him and we can involve ourselves being the third team to get Malik Monk on our squad, bring him back. That's what I say. So, yeah, man, that's what needs to be said. I just think Malik Monk is probably one of the most talented scorers in a role-playing position that I may have ever seen. Literally. May have ever seen. And he's far underrated when it comes to leaping, too. He is an absolute pogo stick. People forget that, but he can fly. That man can absolutely fly. Big fan. So that's what I say. I think Golden State, you tell me this is the best thing I can get for Kuminga is Malik Monk and a first-round pick. I've already pulled the trigger on that deal. That's already agreed upon. But as I said, I'm not sure what the Warriors situation looks like. For all I know, the logic lines up. But I can tell you from afar that I've hated a lot of what the Warriors have been doing over the last couple of years since Dunleavy came in place. So, yeah, for whatever that's worth, I have hated just about everything they've done. Just about. And have said multiple times that I think Dunleavy needs to be relieved of his duties as Warriors GM. So I think that right now, too. So, yeah, man, I don't know, man. Jonathan Kuminga, he's just had a raw deal ever since he was drafted. I told y'all a million times on this channel that I think Jonathan Kuminga should have never been a Warrior. I wanted him to be drafted anywhere but the Warriors. He didn't fit the way they did things. He didn't make any sense for their roster. They had Draymond Green that they kept paying $100 million contracts every 4 years. He was never going to be able to start there. He was never going to be able to perform at his highest peak because they were always having some old guys in front of him. And it played out exactly the way I thought it was. And now that we're here, I can say exactly what I was worried about is what happened. Jonathan Kuminga's career never took off just simply because he was drafted to the wrong place. And that's what can happen when GMs decide they just want to draft a guy because they love him. If he don't fit your situation or your future, you're bringing him to a tough situation. He can get off to a bad start and ultimately find himself in this situation here. And it was preventable, man. It was preventable. I like Jonathan Kuminga draft day too, but the Warriors should have never drafted him. I said it then, and this is why. We're here. We're here. This was the worst of the timeline. And they've been toying around with this dude's career for years, putting him in funky rotations, cutting his minutes under 20. You know what I'm saying? And now we get to this point, he's ready to get his money, and they can argue, well, you're not worth that because you haven't produced. Well, his minutes have been completely manipulated so that you can do this. And I think somewhere in the world of sports, we need to start looking at organizations who do this type of stuff and hold them accountable for it, because they're getting away with some really weird, nefarious, and borderline morally wrong stuff that they're doing to these people when they want to control their price tag. It's your right to have a player, you're paying him, but if you know a guy's capable of doing a such and such and you don't want to pay him a certain amount, you are sure he's not on the floor long enough to do such and such. And that's what the Warriors have been doing to Kuminga for a couple years now. And I, as a person who wants to build a team, who, you know, like I said, the logic for me is if I can't make it make sense for the pocketbook, I'm not going to align with it. And so when you ask me if I think Kuminga should be making $100 million or something like that, I'm going to say no. But do I think that Kuminga, if he were drafted to a better situation, could have played himself up to be a better player? Hell yeah. And that's just what it is. So I align with the market price because I can afford to do so. If I'm a GM or an owner, I'm not going to pay more for him. I'm not going to assume that when I bring him here, he's worth the price that I'm willing to pay to match that. I'm not going to match prices. If I get him here, I'm going to double his worth, and then I'm going to make money that way. I'm not going to spend what I think he's worth, bring him here, and then turn him into that. That's not a profit for me. So, you know, unfortunately for him, them screwing him over is just what it was. They screwed him over, and nobody's going to pay that price until he's able to prove that he can do that. And it's just sucks. That's the name of the game, man. Like I tell people in other situations, if someone can afford to get a discount on you for whatever reason, they're going to demand that discount price. They're not going to want to pay full price for you if they don't have to. And in Kuminga's case, the Warriors have screwed him over so much that it's understood that he's not worth what he's worth, essentially. And so he's like one of the worst cases. I feel for him. He's a restricted free agent. That's an awful situation for a player. And we're seeing it in multiple areas right now. Josh Giddey, Cam Thomas, Jonathan Kuminga. There's somebody else that's a restricted free agent as well. And they're just stuck in these situations, man. They're stuck. Their teams can match any offer. Their teams may want to lowball them because of it. Other teams are going to honor the price tag that they're worth and hope to bring them in and double the value on what they've paid. It's just, I think restricted free agency is a bit of a headache or a cancer, or I don't know what the right word is, but I don't like it. I don't like it for the players at all. I don't like restricted free agency for players at all. Either I'm a free agent or I'm not, bro. Me going out to another team saying, hey, can you give me my money, only to have it matched by the same team, it brings me back into a situation that I chose to leave potentially, or brings me back to a situation where I chose to look elsewhere for more money, so it comes back awkward. It just becomes a weird environment that's created just from the strength of that, off the strength of that. And when you're ready to move on from a team, but it's in their best interest to bring you back, but they don't want you as well, it's like that's what Kuminga's going through, that's what Cam Thomas is going through, that's what Josh Giddey's going through. They can't even test the market because of that restricted free agency process. I just think it needs to be removed from the collective bargaining agreement entirely. I don't see much of a positive for that, other than allowing teams to have the ability to retain a player who in most cases is now ready to test the market. When you have a player you don't want to lose, it may feel good to have them on a restricted free agency so that the team can't poach them away from you. But is that really free agency at all, or are you just doing some weird stuff with the situation? And that's I choose the latter if I'm looking at it. I just think it's just you're doing something weird with the situation. Either he's free or he's not, yo. So I don't like restricted free agency anymore. I never did. It always left for awkward situations. It always left for you losing a guy. The situation with Ayton was a prime example that was just ridiculous. The Phoenix Suns didn't want to pay him his money, so he was able to go to the Pacers to get it from them. And the Phoenix Suns then matched it to bring him back at that price. But he had agreed to go to the Pacers, and his career hadn't been where he needed to be since. He got his money, but the opportunities he's been in since then have been bad. It's just no to restricted free agency going forward. Please consider the pros of removing restricted free agency from the collective bargaining agreement. BDL 44, I thank y'all for watching. Out.